Welcome back to day 4 of the 12 days of Scoliosis. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a workout action. Scoliosis! So if you do happen to have one of these bands, a loop band ideally, or you can use like a longer band and tie it into a loop. We're going to be popping it around our ankles today, so ankles and knees, so a loop band is going to be handy. If you don't have a band, you can still do all of these exercises without a band. It just helps to add a little bit of extra resistance. So we're going to do our workout and then we're going to have a little gym chat, a little workout chat. I'm going to give you some tips on working out, going to the gym with scoliosis. So first, let's come into our workout. So I recommend grabbing a band and a yoga mat if you have one, because we are going to come down onto the ground. Put me on pause and go and do that. So before we get started, I just want to do a real quick little warm up, because you know we need to just loosen up our hips a little bit, especially after yesterday. Hope your hips are feeling okay. So we want to make sure what we're doing here is some knee circles. So we're working our hip mobility here. You can balance on one leg, you can hold on to something as well. When you're doing this, be aware that you're not hiking one hip up, you're not going into your scoliosis curve. You can just do a couple of circles in one direction and then a couple of circles in the other direction. I also recommend maybe playing a little bit of music in the background, getting a little bit of a vibe going. We get a couple of circles on this leg, a couple of circles back around the other way. Again, you can hold on to something if you need to. Then we're just going to take the feet out roughly shoulder width apart. We'll do a couple of squats, sweeping the arms up above the head. So you're going to squat down, sweep the arms up, and then come back up. Squat down, sweep the arms up, and come back up. As you're squatting down, you're sending your hips back behind you. You're trying to get your biceps up in line with your shoulders. And this is just moving our hips, getting the blood pumping a little bit, getting the shoulders working. Think about keeping length in your spine. 3, 2, 1. Just give yourself a little shake out. Shake, shake, shake it out. Shake it out. So we are going to be strengthening our glutes and our core. 2 areas really important to help us with our scoliosis, building strength in the body. Strong muscles help to keep us upright. They help to stabilize our joints. They help with osteoporosis. There's just so many reasons why we need to keep strong. So you're going to grab your band, pop it around the ankles. And remember, you can use a longer band and just kind of tie it around your ankles as well. The first thing we're going to do is a kickback. So you're going to have your feet shoulder width apart, and again, you can do this without the band. You can totally do it without the band. Feet shoulder width apart, little bend into your knees. You can push your hips back slightly. Keep the core nice and strong. We're going to shuffle the weight into the left leg. So try not to like bend over to your left side, but just bring the weight into your left leg. And then you're going to step your right leg diagonally back behind you. So that right leg is coming away. What you're trying to do here is keep your hips squared, so facing towards the front, towards the laptop, computer, whatever you're looking at right now, TV maybe. And all of the weight is in this left glute. So we're working to wake up this left glute, to stabilize this left glute. What you don't want to be doing is moving back with the band, because if you're moving back with the band, you're not stabilizing through this glute. So check what you're doing. You can take your hands to your hips, keep pushing into your hips to keep that length in the spine. We've been practicing that these past couple of days. We'll do a couple more on this side. Keep the weight into the left leg. Squeeze that left glute. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Well done. Coming up, and we're going to shuffle straight into the other side. So weight into your right leg. You're going to step your left leg back behind you. As you're doing this, think, what are the arches doing in your right foot? You know, have your arches collapsed? If they have, push through all 4 corners of your feet, get your arches back. Hands can stay on the hips. Now we're working on this right glute medius, that muscle down the side, to be precise. Think about keeping the length in your spine. Almost there. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Well done. Now we're going to go straight into a crab walk. So you can come to the edge of your mat, hands on the hips, lengthen the spine, squeeze the tummy muscles. You can bend into the knees, send the hips back slightly, and then start to walk sideways. I like, again, to have the hands on the hips to help keep the length in the spine. So it's a form of traction. As you're doing this, please don't let the hips rock side to side like this. Try and keep your hips facing forward and not rocking, especially if you know you have one hip that wants to go up higher than the other. You want to keep that baby down. So getting our crab walk side to side to side to side. Still working this glute medius. We're trying to strengthen up these muscles, connect to our hips, connect to our lower back. Very, very important muscles. We're going to go one more time. You're doing so well. If you want to make it a bit more challenging, you can sink a little bit lower, push the hips back a little bit more. Think about keeping the length in the spine. What is your neck doing? Keep your neck nice and long. Good, okay. Now we're going to come down onto the mat for 2 exercises. So we can, if you are wearing your band, pop it just up above your knees. We're going to come into some glute bridges. So we're going to lie down. You're going to have your feet roughly shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider. Your band is on by your knees. And we're going to do our glute bridges. So you're going to push the hips up towards the ceiling. Squeeze the glutes as hard as you can. You can even take your hands to your bum. Feel those muscles. Try and squeeze them really hard at the top. And then gently release and lower. Repeating that action, and also wearing your ankles, try and get your ankles roughly underneath your knees. If your ankles are really far away, you're going to feel it more in your hamstrings. Also, just keep going as I'm chatting to you. But what is your core doing? Your core has to be turned on. You have to be squeezing your tummy muscles as if like a toddler was about to come and give you a punch in the stomach. Brace. Keep your core strong to keep our rib cage in line with our pelvis. What we don't want to see is the ribs flaring and sinking into the lower back, because that's actually going to cause lower back pain, which we do not want. You don't have to push up super high either if that doesn't feel okay. Just focus on the squeezing through the glutes. And if you're wearing your band, make sure that the band is not pulling your knees together. So that's important. You keep driving your knees out into the band. Keep squeezing your glutes as hard as you can. We're going to get 3 more. You're doing so well. Good. 2 more. Squeeze those bum cheeks at the top. Good. 1 more time. We're going to hold it up. You're going to hold it up. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Gently tapping the hips down to the mat. Then we're going to come onto a core exercise, one that I know my clients absolutely love because it looks really, really simple, but it's actually really difficult. So you're going to bring your feet off the ground, flexing your toes and having your ankles roughly in line with your knees. Squeeze your tummy muscles. Then we're going to take the hands to our knees and we're going to push our hands into our knees and our knees into our hands. And I want you to breathe here. If you can, do a forceful exhalation, because that's going to really tighten your core a little bit more. It's going to pull the ribs down. Try not to slam the lower back down into the mat. Keep your natural lordotic curve. Squeeze, like push, push, push. Hands to knees, knees to hands. You're almost there. 3, 2, 1. Well done. We are going to go through that 1 more time. If that core exercise did not feel good, what you can do instead is keep the feet down onto the ground and just slowly bring one knee up and then the other knee up instead. That's just a gentler version, but a similar kind of thing where we're using our core muscles. And if the I don't know, if you don't like lying on your back and the glute bridges didn't feel good, instead on the next set you can do a bird dog where you hold 10 seconds each side and then 10 seconds the other side. So just bearing that in mind because we're going to go through it one more time. So grabbing your bands if you have your band, and let's pop it around the ankles. We started with the kickbacks, so hands on the hips, lengthen the spine, squeeze the tummy muscles. Let's shuffle the weight into the left leg, and then going back on the side. Good, being aware that you're not letting yourself do this, letting the hips come back with you as you step back. Keep your hips forward, keep your hips facing the front of the room, towards the TV, camera, whatever it is. Good. Getting this glute working. We'll go 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's switch straight into the other side, bringing weight into the leg, hips squared, don't rotate through the hips. Stepping that left leg back, keeping all of your weight through your right glute. What are your arches doing? Don't let your foot collapse. Squeeze the core muscles, push the hands into your hips to keep lengthening the spine. You're doing so well, well done. Getting a little bit of a workout in today. You might hate me now, but you'll thank me later. We're gonna get 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Well done. Let's shuffle over to the side and come straight into our crab walk. So bend the knees, lengthen the spine, push the hands into the hips, and let's go. If you know that you can hold your scoliosis corrections and you want to make things a little bit more challenging, you can come into your Schroth hands as you're doing your walk. But now it just takes a lot more energy to hold this, to hold the spine long. If you are doing your Schroth hands, think about getting the elbows in line with the shoulders, getting the elbows away from each other. Remember to breathe and not let your hips wobble from side to side. We're going to keep going, strengthening all these muscles down the side of the hip. You're doing so well. Last little bit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. We're going to come down for those glute bridges. If you don't want to do the glute bridges, you can do a bird dog instead, like I demonstrated. So coming and lying down onto the back. Exactly the same. Let's go. You can take the band just above the knees. So in our glute bridges, we're pushing the hips up. We squeeze really hard at the top. Squeeze the core muscles. Control the way down. Push up at the top, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the core, and then coming down onto the ground. Keep moving through that. You can take your hands to your glutes, feel yourself squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. Really getting lots of blood into those muscles. We're going to get 5 more. You're doing so well. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Thinking about keeping the longest spine. All the movement is coming from the hip joint here, not from the spine. We're trying to keep the spine nice and neutral. Good. We're going to get 1 more, and we're going to hold it at the top and squeeze really, really hard. So hold it at the top, squeeze, 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 squeeze. 3, 2, 1. Well done. And then last thing, lying onto the back, core exercise. You can bring the feet up or you can have your feet down onto the ground. We're going to push the hands into the knees. Let's go. Knees into hands, hands into knees. Squeeze the tummy muscles as hard as you can. And if you want to make it more challenging, do a forceful exhalation. like a really long, forceful one, not a short little one. Like you're trying to blow out a fire, not a candle. Good, keep going, squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Let's take the bands off and flip on over. We'll come into a puppy pose quickly just to lengthen out the spine. So we can send the hips back behind us, reach the arms out in front. So hips are roughly halfway between your knees and your ankles. You're reaching the arms out in front and getting some nice, big, deep breaths into the back of your body, lengthening through the spine. And then coming back up. And now we'll have a little chat about going to the gym and exercising with scoliosis. First things first, just look at this pretty sunset in Vancouver on a December night. Going to the gym and working out with scoliosis is 100% safe, and it is something that I really recommend doing, especially if you like going to the gym. If this is your vibe, do it. Please don't let anyone tell you that it is dangerous if you have scoliosis. There are some things in the gym that I will recommend not doing, such as cable twists, burpees, crunches, weights that are way too heavy for you where you can't keep a lengthened spine. We really want to focus on keeping a lengthened spine when we're doing all of our exercises like we've been practicing today. As you can see, I have changed my clothes, my memory card ran out, so we are on the next day. But continuing my chat about the gym. It's so important that you keep your body strong, and the gym can be a scary place regardless of if you have scoliosis or not, but you can still go to the gym, you can still work out, you can still go to fitness classes. When I was talking about avoiding things like burpees, that is because when you jump back in a burpee, so common, people do this. And if you do this, aka lower, I don't even want to do it because I don't want to hurt myself, but lowering your lower back, it's going to compress your lower back vertebrae, squidge the discs, especially when you have a curve there, and it can really cause lower back issues. The reason you don't want to do something like a crunch or a sit-up is because there's a lot of rounding. Again, I don't even want to do it. It's a lot of flexion, a lot of rounding into the back. And when you round into the back, it compresses the spine, and with scoliosis, especially structural scoliosis, the vertebrae become a wedge shape. They don't stack over each other in rectangles anymore. At the curve, they actually become a wedge shape. When you compress a wedge through something like flexion, for example, it's going to push that wedge in to the curve. Imagine if you squeeze a doorstop. When you squeeze the doorstop will move to the bigger side, you know? Thinking about that. The same thing happens with your vertebrae. So when you are repetitively doing something like flexion in a sit-up, you are repetitively compressing your spine and pushing the wedge vertebrae more into the curve. And that will affect more people than others. Some people will have more wedging than others, so it really is dependent. And if you have a fusion as well, it's just going to cause a lot of aggravation at the transition zones, the parts above and below the fusions. So just being aware of that. You don't need to do crunches to get a strong core, I'll tell you that. You could do something like a dead bug, you know, where you reach one arm over like this, or you do one at a time, or you do a plank. All of this kind of stuff is so much better than stuff like crunches. And the crunch machine, please don't go on the crunch machine. Please don't do that thing with the cable where you pull it down and then round into the back. Again, there are so many better ways for you to strengthen your core that is so much safer for your spine than doing that repetitive rounding to build your core muscles. You just don't need to do that. I would be careful with things like heavy squats and heavy deadlifts. You can do them. I would build up very slowly, very, very slowly. Start light, use kettlebells first, really perfect your form. Form is incredibly important. Perhaps working with a personal trainer if you don't understand how to do a hip hinge, which is a deadlift movement. You also, which makes it more complicated, know how to correct your scoliosis. So like if you have a right hand curve, like bringing that right hand curve into center before you do a movement like a deadlift or a squat. And being aware with overhead movements like a shoulder press, because of the rotation in our thoracic spine. Again, this is not for everyone, but you know, for those people that have quite a rib hump, like me, for example, when you reach your arm over your head, because the ribs affects our shoulder mobility, it can aggravate the shoulder. So instead, I would focus on something like, if you're going to do a shoulder press, I love using a landmine, doing a landmine press. So you kind of push the landmine, that's the barbell that's at an angle, out at a 45 degrees, and it's just so much safer for the shoulders and so much just better for the shoulders. So I could really talk about the gym for hours and hours and hours, but you know, we don't have that long during these little Christmas specials. So please, if you do have any questions, let me know. I do offer private personal training and scoliosis specific, obviously, so I'm always here. You can find me at feelgoodspine.com. But know that you can go to the gym. If you're a gym person, I encourage it. Look after yourself. Prioritize building strength. Prioritize keeping an elongated spine. Do your scoliosis correctives as well as going to the gym. I do my correctives, I'll go to the gym, or vice versa. So you want to make sure that you're looking after your scoliosis as well. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you today. I will see you tomorrow.